The zoom is on this side here.
On which side?
This one here, this little button here. Up and down.
Oh, I see. Yeah. God, that's so good.
And check out, tapes are like this big, right?
Yeah. That's
Mini
so
TV.
cool, isn't it? Oh, I love the way it pixelates there.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really good.
It's great, isn't it? Like cameras.
I love the pixelation. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I like it because of the simple reason it fits in your pocket. It's sort of like a dream come true for me in that sense.
It has to be who? Sony, I suppose.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
You can get it right around the corner on, they have a huge plaza at 55th Street.
Give me 7 of these, will you? Thank you very much. That's terrific. That really is.
Oh, sure.
What's the brand name of it?
It is a Sony, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but and what's it called? The Handy what?
It's called the Handycam Vision.
Okay.
And it's if you're like there.
No, it's like.
And can I have 20 of them?
Yeah, that's right. One for each of my band members and crew.
Right.
We'll just film ourselves.
So you got 10 minutes.
Okay.
Bang me out. I'll come in. I'll give you a signal or something
All right.
to wind on down. And we'll choose yourself.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Plan to ask him lots of.
And I'll make sure that they don't.
Relentlessly.
Let me see.
Feel free to flee if he gets out of hand.
May I get a portable tool stand ashtray, if there is one?
Sure.
The record button is.
Thank you.
Zoom.
Oh, he's got a new gimmick.
This is going to put
Yeah,
you on
okay.
where loose.
So we want we'll just
You just want wide on the other side.
Sure.
It's done the B-roll in.
The B-roll.
Yeah,
hands,
I know.
face, the charming smile, all those.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Are you coming back?
Pixelate my hand.
I was looking for. I thought there was a. Oh, he's.
I got it.
Pixelate this hand.
We got the action.
Just zoom in real
Good
close.
shot to my guitar. Close.
It's good, isn't it?
Really wow.
Art movies by the million you can do with this thing.
11:19 now, so somewhere between 11:20 and 25.
All right, cool. Here's an extra tape now.
Thanks, yeah.
Hey, thanks for taking time out for us, first off, you know,
Not at all. My pleasure.
getting everything going here. Turns out, my friend Mark is a mixer. Small world. How'd you find him? He's good, huh?
He's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of replacing him pretty soon.
You're serious. Telling me that just because of the connection, aren't
He's
you?
great.
Yeah.
He's great. He's wonderful. He's really. I guess he's the 5th member of the Beatles. Oh no, we're not the Beatles.
Not this time around.
He's become really such a part of what we do, though. I mean, he comes out to all our gigs now, and it's really great. It's a wonderful working relationship that we've got with him. Yeah,
Cool.
he's good.
So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
How was the show for you?
Just the most fantastic thing that I've ever done. It was really good. I was dead worried because it's a huge production that we pulled together in comparatively a short time, in about 10 days, the entire thing. That's band rehearsals and the visuals and everything. And I was getting real nervous before I went out. Like the scrim would get stuck and I'd be on the thrust and I wouldn't be able to get back on the stage. Just technical things.
Right.
As far as the bands who were working with us went, I mean, they were so cooperative. I mean, a lot of them, the ones who were in America at the time, all came up to the dress rehearsals in Hartford and took time out to bother to do all that, you know. And if they hadn't have done that, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as smooth as it was. I mean, they were just great. They were just great.
So, you know, recently you did sort of this chat session on AOL.
Yeah.
Lots of future techno questions.
Yeah.
So what was it like to sort of have that direct connection with your audience?
Well, it's one that I've maintained both in profile and anonymously for the last couple of years. We've always used the net to get immediate feedback on what we're doing whilst we're on tour. If we put a new song in the show, after the show, within half an hour sometimes, we get immediate feedback on if the song was any good or if it was crap. So it's pretty fantastic in just immediate feedback. And if you go into conversation mode, it's quite interesting to plant misinformation and false rumours and let people deal with it.
What were some of the questions they were asking? Can you recall any of them that stood out in your mind?
Why did you kill Ziggy? That one unfortunately keeps coming up around the world. It's like you kind of really hope that people have moved on, but it's the inevitable question. But then you get really cool things like, it was so good that, it was great that you did Quicksand. I never thought you'd do that song ever again live. And so it's nice that, you know, you think, well, this is a really obscure song from an album in 1970. I'm sure nobody really cares, you know. And it's just great that, you know, people are responding to maybe some of the quirkier things that I do like that.
Well, you released this song on the web, your single, Telling Lies.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. It was only a net single. I mean, it wasn't ever a commercial release in that way.
I know. What was the motivation behind doing that?
Well, it was a two-part. One was just because nobody else was really doing it, and my record company, Virgin, were really quite, I mean, it was, I think they knew the possibilities and the potentials of kind of subverting the distribution services by doing something like that. But Nancy Berry, who runs the thing, is quite gung-ho about new ideas. And she was really for the idea, so she didn't mind me doing that. But I've always figured that I share one thing in common with Prince, is that we both overwrite. We both have an incredible backlog of material. And it occurs to me that a good way of making the maybe more esoteric or avant-garde or whatever you want to call it, or weird stuff that maybe Nancy wouldn't want on her label because it's not something she can really deal with in that way, available to people, is to put it onto the net so they can download it if they want it. And there won't be that many people that would want it, because some of it is pretty weird. But it's a great way of making stuff available. So I don't feel this stuff is all like building up behind me and I've got no place to put it. I also think it's got an incredible potential for young songwriters or music writers who don't have any audience, don't have any interest from a label yet, to be able to put their stuff on the net to get some profile, so they can either develop an audience, or maybe on the chance that there will be record people out there that will hear it and download, or at least listen to it, even if they don't download. So I think as a forum for new music ideas, it's really has potential.
What about other artists that are of your stature that aren't embracing the internet right now? When you say
I don't have much interest in them. I'm not, you know, I don't know. I got my own little world, and I'm very happy in there. You know, I just do what I like doing, and I don't care.
What are some of the things about the web or the internet, the medium, that you go out and check out and like to see?
Well, I go through pages, and I got the websites generally, including my own. It's really hard to keep them spontaneous and immediate and fresh and with new material on. I get a chance maybe once every 6 weeks or so to update, because the volume of work that I do from day to day is so intense, and I really do work right the way through until I get back home. And I do allow a lot of time with my wife when I don't disappear onto the net and kind of, you know, you coming for dinner? Just a minute. You know, I can't, I'm not in a position where I want to do that. I can't get that lost in it. I think for me the easiest situation is being on tour, because then you got, you know, you're stuck in Akron and you've seen the tyre that goes over the road, and you got the rest of the afternoon before the show, so you know that gives you a chance to kind of surf a bit. I think for me really information when you do get to it is worthwhile, but there's such a lot of rubbish on it as well, and it's the hours of wastage that I can't stand. You know, I want much quicker access to the real vital things. But I think it can unfortunately become too addictive in some ways, you know.
So you're looking for some information agents.
Yeah, and you know, I just end up using my own programs and stuff, and I don't get that involved in the net other than just, you know, sort of in a conversational mode. I do a lot of artwork on the computer, and I'm more pro to. I tend to end up with things like Photoshop and Painter, and you know, and sort of I fiddle about with my own thing, sort of inherently in the room itself.
Do you think the multimedia aspects of sort of doing websites, like for example, have you heard of these things, cybercast, live broadcasts of concerts?
Yeah.
Does that appeal to you?
Theoretically, it's an interesting idea, but I think the quality of everything. I mean, I'm not sure what stage it's at the moment, but you get these just digitalized static photographs from the concerts, and that's not terribly appealing. And music quality is also, leaves a lot to be desired. The other drag at the moment is it takes 30 or even 40 minutes to download something which lasts 3 minutes, and it's like the wastage and the expense of doing something. When you can download in real time, it's going to make things a lot better, I think.
Well, they have some new stuff now where you can actually stream video straight out.
Daily they have new stuff. I mean, I just can't keep up. I'm still, way back in last month.
Or yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, yesterday morning. I remember way back yesterday morning. Kind of gets like that.
Well, the single that you released, you had about 200,000 downloads.
It was extraordinary. It was an incredible response to it. Well, I put out 3 different versions. It was a useful song to use, actually, because it was one of the first things that became a part of the new album, and so it was almost work in progress. We started actually playing it the early part of last year when we first went back on the road again. After America, we went to Russia and Japan and then Scandinavia and Europe and did an awful lot of those big festivals. And it was something that we were working on right at the beginning. So it was changing its nature all the way through that tour. And you got a pretty representative idea of the 3 different ways we'd approached it. And the 4th way, of course, inevitably is the one that actually ended up on the album. But it was quite nice to put out those kind of 3 working methods to see how a song evolves more than anything else.
Do you think the label should fear this type of new distribution?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't think they have to fear for very long, because I will guarantee, as night follows day, that corporations will work out a way of monopolizing the distribution aspects of the net somehow or other.
You see sort of technology fusing with organics a lot now.
Yeah.
The Gibson-esque view.
Yeah.
Are computers going to disappear like mechanical?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, when Eno and I started, virtually we were kind of at the beginnings of all that with our work in the late 70s when we did a lot of work in Germany. And it really was that was the key word at the time, was the hybridization of organic and technological. And that's what a lot of the bands coming out of Dusseldorf at that particular time were involved in. The people that we really admired and respected, engineers like Connie Plank, and his work with bands like Harmonia and Cluster and Neu. And that particular period was really the first footsteps into the vocabulary that's kind of developed since then. And I think that one of the great fears at the time with somebody like myself was that the increasing use of computer work was going to sterilize the working situation, that the creativity would become soulless and it wouldn't have the real heart and blood that you kind of want out of music. But the irony, of course, is that it's become more freeing than it ever could have before. It's just something that I didn't really foresee happening. And I find the ways of working now, like taking that initial faltering language that we were involved in the late 70s, has now become just like Esperanto or something. It means that you can work with anybody over any period, over any distance, in any period of time. Brian and I are working on the next Adler Diaries, which is called Contamination. We haven't met each other, we're just doing it over the modem, and we're just sending each other stuff. It's incredible, you just, as long as you've got a sync pulse, you can record. You have 7 of you in 7 different countries and put an album together, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Technology for
Yeah, it's nice. It's we decided that was going to be our discipline on this one, that we wouldn't meet. We do that because I can't stand him.
I was going to say, it could work with the nature of the room sometimes.
Well, it's kind of cool maybe with guys that don't get on, but they know they work together well. They don't actually have to meet.
Always flick it off.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but Brian, of course, it will be interesting from this point on, because he and his wife and kids are moving. They've just left, or they're leaving England, and they're going to live in Russia. Brian's now decided he's going to live in St. Petersburg, so he's off there in about 3 weeks' time, and that's it. Bye-bye, Brian. So we've lost him to the Western Hemisphere.
So you're sort of using the internet to create music.
Yeah.
craziness. What do you think the future of this whole internet thing is going? Is it revolutionary? Is it evolutionary? Is it the whole new way of communication?
It's both evolutionary and revolutionary. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's how long or if it will have the chance to remain truly democratic. There's something. The leveling aspects of it are tremendous. I mean, that it really could afford governments serious pause for thought in the ways that they try and control or pass laws or intimidate their public. I think that it could revolutionize the way of government. But unless it's brought down, if it remains at its present economic level, it's going to be disuseful for itself. It has to reach a point where every single person can afford it. It's got to come to the level of the basic black and white television or a phone. Otherwise, it's going to end up as the haves and the have-nots. And that's always dangerous because you immediately create an elitist culture. And that's the downside of it. But I think if it has general access, I think it could completely change the way that we live, yeah.
What about sort of using it for revolutionary political things, like in Tiananmen Square they use fax machines?
Absolutely, and they used it in Bosnia as well to get out real news of what was really happening, and that, of course, is I think is essential, and that's where it really is coming into play. You can have immediate facts, pretty accurate from really distraught situations. You can really get to know what's going on, and you can act on that information. Well, governments can certainly act on that information if they wish to, if it's in their best interests or whatever.
What about the Tibetan?
Wish they got one in Tibet. I was just going to say that as you said that.
Yeah, what about the Tibetan people? They've been using technology quite a bit.
Yeah.
What do you think about them using the technology for their concerts?
Oh, it's a shame that they even have to keep on at it. You know, I mean, it's people are most of the world's governments are so resolutely against ever lifting a finger against the Chinese or sort of, you know, wiring them in the slightest. It seemed such a soft option for the Chinese to just take over Tibet. I mean, you know, who's going to stop them? And the Britain in 1954, I believe, developed a protection agreement with Tibet following the Second World War to defend Tibet under all circumstances, has never even thought to honor that at any time. I mean, the treatment of Tibet by the European countries is absolutely disgusting. It's irresponsible, and great crimes have been committed by the Chinese in Tibet.
Well, I mean, what happens when everybody in the world is wired?
The asylums will be full. Oh, you meant on the net. Oh, I see. Oh, I couldn't possibly predict what that's going to be like. Can you imagine? I'm trying to imagine my mother wired. Oh, the mind boggles.
Mind boggles.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap this up. You were mentioning before how do you think the internet is going to change the way musicians actually get out there and make music?
Well, as I said earlier, I think the first initial response is that it's going to become a wider public forum for specifically for new writers, people who don't have any other kind of access to a public or to get noticed maybe by, if they want to go with the corporate companies too. I think corporates will be more finely focused in on what's happening on the net, as indeed they are. I know that Virgin, the record company that I'm with, are pretty hip to what's going on now. And their interest has really only been tweaked over the last year. I mean, they've come late onto it, but so have every other record company. They came late. I don't think they thought it would mean as much as it's meaning already. As I say, my only negative thought on it is that it's going to be comparatively easy because of the way that our government institutions are, that for the distribution to be monopolised by he who's got the most money will win, you know, and that's always the downside, and it is inevitable.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. So the essential thing you must know is that we built this board specifically
to carry the picture of Mark's daughter. This wonderful picture of Chimi Yungdung Rinpoche. Isn't that great? I got that through the post a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue. Isn't that lovely? Hello, Chimi. You were right. I should study music.
Get it? Huh? Uh-huh. Just a second, maybe you just tell Mark.
Well, yeah, I tell. Okay, Mark, what I want you to do is press the hit button.
The single hit.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Got it.
Somebody told me about coming to a session where the A&R man from the company was there, and he said,
Right.
"What's that sound? That. I said, "What do you mean? What sound?" He said, "This, that thing. That. I said,
Happens every beat, doesn't it?
That's the snare drum."
I don't like that.
That's why he's the A&R guy, right? He knows that much about music.
So Frank looked great.
Frank Black, yeah.
See these little guys? You see the little guy on the bottom?
Yeah.
That's a visual artist in New York called Tony Ausler.
Oh, wow.
And he just creates these extraordinary beings with video projected faces on them.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He had the MoMA ones.
That's right. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine, and we've done a lot of work together. And he did a lot of stuff that you probably didn't see at the show, but really shows on TV.
Right.
It's all stuff all over the stage. These guys just
sitting there. That's the advantage of television, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have noticed.
It's cool.
on
I
the
saw
night.
an installation of his stuff one time. I didn't remember the name, but yeah, it was
Tony Ausler, and he's got his first major show in France opening up next week at the Pompidou Museum, and it runs for like 6 months. It's really,
Did he come back to New York? Or is he from New York?
Yeah, he's from New York.
New York. I'm sure I'll catch it again. I think the visuals in this whole thing were just phenomenal, man.
Look, isn't that weird? It's so weird, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
You can see the little projector right there.
Yeah,
too.
well, we deconstructed the whole show. I had all my coats on a rack there. You could see all the projectors. I tried to hide nothing. It's like, this is how it's done.
Right,
you know.
yeah.
But you'll still really like it, even though you know how it's all done. You
Well,
know?
it's good to see the technology. I think
Yeah,
makes it
it's
more
great.
real.
Process, I love process.
Absolutely.
And at one point, the mannequins that are stuck up there with tarpaulins, they actually sing all the vocal backups for one of the songs.
No way.
There's one point where these wrapped up mannequins are all singing. It's like so bizarre.
Is that with the projection?
Yeah.
Oh, that's totally
Yeah,
crazy.
it looks like 3 shrouds of Turin. Look at this. This is so weird, huh?
That is so weird.
Where are the two?
It's cool. They're kind of funny too. He's got a sense of humor about it.
They repel you a bit.
Yeah.
But you want to look after them as well because they look trapped.
They look trapped.
They're just trapped in their feeble little bodies. You know?
I see the little ones up there. Like
Yeah.
twins.
On one of the other, well, we bring them to life in one of the other songs, and they're just these 2 kids that are like just referring to each other all the time, and they kind of visually comment on the show all the way through.
All the way through.
Yeah.
That's groovy, man. Well, I think it's going to be a big success for you. It's either way. It's just visually interesting.
It's looking great,
It's looking
and I've got Tim Pope who's doing the direction on it.
Oh,
He
no way.
does all the
Yeah,
cure.
he's
yeah,
the man,
yeah,
no doubt.
yeah, and he's potty anyway. He's completely loony. So
Yeah.
it's all the right people.
Well, it's going to
Good
be my
team.
head on the stage if I don't get him wrong.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying
It's
to talk
good
to
to see
you.
you.
Take
Good to
care.
see you.
Thank you for taking time.
I'm with you. Then.
John, I'll leave you that info.